The 2 mile test. So rumor has it we live on a ball. And if we do live on a ball, I'm sure it has to be a certain size. Now, according to science, we know the Earth was round for thousands of years. This guy named Eratosthenes supposedly measured the globe, and he was supposedly within 2% of the actual size. What is the actual size? Let's take a look. Obviously, we know the diameter of the Earth because we launch satellites, we have moon landings, we got all kinds of military stuff running around, airplanes. Of course, we know the diameter of the Earth. Okay, so here it is. It's 7,917 miles and a half. It's not 17, but 17 and a half. Okay, let's use the Pythagorean theorem. Now, here's the first 3 miles of the Earth's curvature. At 2 miles, it curves 32 inches. Now, 32 inches at 2 miles, that's a lot of curvature. We should be able to see that. We work on job sites, we shoot stuff, so let's shoot it. Let's do a 2 mile ice test. Okay, so here's how we're going to do the 2 mile ice test. We got our lake. We're going to set up our camera here, our transit, pointing that way. We're going to put a grade stake at about 100 yards. Then we're going to put our flag at 1 mile. And then we're going to put another flag at 2 miles. And we should be able to line these up and see what's going on. According to the globe, this one should be down 8 inches. And this one should be down 32 inches. Okay, that's how we're going to do it. Okay, so here we are at the public access. And we're on the ice. It's a beautiful day. And we're going to do our test downrange right here. And we're going to head towards this building that's about 2.5 miles away, something like that. And if you look close, here's our grade stake. You see it? This is a little closer, you can see it better. We got our trusty snowmobile. Here's the top view of our 2 mile test. This is Lake St. Clair at Selfridge Air Base. And there's our first dot, which is our transit. The next dot is our grade stake. And then the next dot is our 1 mile flag. And then the next dot is our 2 mile flag. So the first thing we did after we set our transit on the ice and leveled it up, we took our laser and we found the center of the scope, the center of the eyepiece. Then we went farther down to mark our grade stake. Here we are further up at the grade stake. I ended up making a double mark so I can line up the transit in between them. As you can see from this grade stake looking back, 100 yards on the ice is pretty far. You're not going to see a flag at a mile away unless you're using magnification. So the next thing we did is I took 2 flags and I made both of them the exact same height as the eyepiece. So I drove down the ice to the 2 mile marker. I got to like 1.7 and the GPS was showing like 1.8. So I knew it was pretty close. So I drove the odometer to 2.1, which I knew would be really close. So then I checked my GPS and here it is. It jumped me up on land because I was in car mode. But it's real close to 2 miles. Here's the trip odometer. On the bottom you can see it says 2.1. So I drilled a hole and mounted our first flag. On the bottom of the flag is a 1-inch dowel rod, and I drill a 1-inch hole, so the bottom of the flag automatically stops at the top of the ice. After I mounted the 2 mile flag, I drove back to mount the 1 mile flag, and here's my GPS. It's showing 1.6, but I think it's a little off because, like I said, it's in the wrong mode. And I use the odometer again. Here's the odometer at 3.3. I drove an extra tenth too far, so I went back an extra 2/10 and put the flag there. This whole time, my nephew was looking through the eyepiece, guiding me where to go. Okay, the moment you've been waiting for. I came back and looked through the scope, and my nephew, instead of putting the flags side by side, he ended up lining up inside each other. It was still pretty impressive. So what you're looking at is the 1 mile flag. And look, the top of the flag is balls on. And then if you look at the grade stake, it's hard to see the mark but it's right on the mark. My nephew had to go down there and move the grade stake out of the way so you can see the flag better. I had to drive back out there a mile and move the one flag over so you can see them both. And boom, there you go. I drove back out there, moved the first flag over, and you can see the 2 mile flag lines up perfectly. Dead on, balls on. You can see my nephew is holding the grade stake over so you can see both flags. In this photo, I made the flags in the background blurry and I focused on the mark on the stake. And you can see it's balls on. In this case, the water is balls on flat at 2 miles. I'm going with gravity doesn't bend water. 32 inches of curvature, no way. The chances of you living on a ball, I'm going with big fat 0.